Happy New Year. This is Sonia from An Enthusiastic Reader. Today I am here to reveal my top 10 books of 2023. I am not ranking them. I'm going to talk about them in the order that I wrote them on the list, and we are going to get started. The first part of this video will be my favorite books of 2023, and at the end there will be some bonus content, which is me talking about a few resolutions that I have for 2024 in terms of reading and in terms of BookTube. So if you're interested in that, please watch to the end, and if not, and you just want to hear about the books, that's totally cool. So I hope you're doing well and you had a good New Year's Eve. Let's go ahead and get started. The first book I want to talk about is Bliss Montage by Ling Ma. This is a book of short stories. Some of them are connected. The first 2 or 3 stories at the beginning all go together. They're the same character looking at this woman's life and her past abusive relationship through different frames. And they were really effective. I really enjoyed those first 3 stories. And then the subsequent stories are not connected, but they are all slightly uncanny. There's like no explanation of the odd things that are happening, but they're kind of reflective of our society, social media, the way that we perceive ourselves in this very fragmented society that we have. And I just thought that this was a really powerful collection of short stories. The next book I'd like to talk about is Independent People by Haldor Laxness. And this is a book that was written in the 1920s, I believe, and it's about Iceland, and it's about goat farming in Iceland through this one family. And the main character is he's very stubborn, and he doesn't want to receive any help from any of his community or the government or anyone to help him survive on this really rocky, unforgiving, terrible land. And he ends up having a bunch of children that he makes work for him and to make this farm successful. And so it's the story of these children. It's the story of the father and of his wives and even of his cow that is brought against his will to be on his farm. And it's also about socialism. So there is a lot of politics of the time woven in, and the landscape and nature is woven in. And it was just a really satisfying, long Icelandic saga based on the saga, the form of storytelling. The gods, the ancient gods of Iceland are woven in with the Christian god of the state religion. So there's a lot happening in this novel. It's whimsical. It's heartbreaking. I'm just very glad that I read this book. Next, we have Forbidden Notebook by Alba de Cespedes. This is translated from the Italian, and I'm going to put the translator here or in the notes because I didn't write that down. This book was written by a feminist author in the 1950s and was recently translated into English. It's the story of a woman who is keeping a forbidden diary. She's not supposed to, and she's writing all her most intimate thoughts about her marriage, about her sex life with her husband, about her desires that are going unfulfilled, and about her children that she has a lot of ambivalence towards, and they are like young adult children. And you can just feel the tension ratcheting up as she's writing these entries, like fearing that someone's going to discover her diary. And it's a very limited period of time in her life that she's keeping the diary. And yeah, there's just so much tension built into the actual writing of a woman's desire into a diary that you can feel the entire way through. I thought it was really powerful, and I'm so glad that I was able to read it. Next, we have A Pagan Place by Edna O'Brien. As I have talked about before in other videos, I am reading all of the novels of Edna O'Brien as a buddy read with Sean, the book maniac, and I loved A Pagan Place. It's probably ranks right up there with one of my very favorite novels that I've read from O'Brien. I love the Country Girls trilogy, And there are a couple of other novels that I've liked, but I've absolutely loved this one. It's the story of a girl. She's a child when it begins. It's her family. It's very dysfunctional. She has a sister that everyone really loves, and the sister has a moral downfall, and that sets off a whole set of circumstances that kind of unravels the entire family, including for the protagonist. So the writing is full of nature and the power of nature and the wild world that this girl lives in her imagination, and then the realities of domestic and religious oppression kind of intrude on all of that imagination and kind of beats her down and changes her in a way, and changes her understanding of what it means to be part of that family that is very unforgiving and not able to accept their children as they are. It's highly recommended. I loved it. Next, we have Dombey and Son by Charles Dickens. This was a very long novel, the saga of a family where the father absolutely does not love his daughter. He only loves his little baby son. And his wife dies in childbirth when he's giving birth to this little son, Paul, and he puts all his hopes and love and everything into the son, and virtually ignores the daughter most of the time. And so we get to see what happens as this family, as a major thing happens to this family, and the absolute downfall of this father because he is unable to give love to his daughter. And then there are lots and lots of side characters and adventures and capsized boats and lost fortunes and people trying to rally together to support the daughter, whose name is Florence, and give her moral support and financial support and everything she needs so that she can be a better so that she can succeed, even though her father has not paid attention to her. So it was very long. It took me a while. It took me a whole month to read it, but I really enjoyed it. There were lots of funny parts and sad parts. And while I felt like the ending maybe wasn't as good as it could have been, that didn't erase how much joy I had in actually reading this book every day for a month. Next, we have the Levant Trilogy by Olivia Manning. I was reading this with a group of really smart people, hosted by Sarah from Hardcover Hearts. This was the second part of, there was a trilogy called the Balkan Trilogy that focused on this young married couple and their adventures as World War II is looming in. I think it was in Hungary. The husband was there to teach English, I believe. Now I can't remember exactly. So that trilogy was about their time in the Balkans as the war is getting going. And then the second trilogy is about them going to the Middle East and being there while the war is raging on, and what happens to their circle of friends, their marriage. I loved the Balkan Trilogy, and I also loved the Levant Trilogy, and I actually really loved reading it with people, and we would talk about it as we read our assigned chapters, and very fulfilling. And I really want to read more Olivia Manning this year because she just knows how to capture the politics and the inner motivations of the characters and their petty jealousies and their loneliness and just the way they all come together and then fall apart as the world is in crisis through World War II. So great. Really good. Next, we have Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. This is the story of a family that is in lockdown together in Maine. They are harvesting apples. No, wait, they're harvesting cherries, and it's a cherry orchard. And the mother was an actress at one time. And so she is revealing and telling stories to her daughters, who are adult daughters, and they are all working together through COVID, through the lockdown, to keep the farm going. And the mother is telling the daughters about a previous relationship. And so we go back and forth in time. It's not just about that memory, it's also about her worries about the world and what is facing her daughters as the world and climate change encroach more upon us. And so she's got anxieties about her daughters, and she's got these memories of the past that some of which she doesn't reveal to her daughters because they're so private. And I love the storytelling. I did listen to the audiobook. I don't think I was swayed to like it more because Meryl Streep was the narrator, but that certainly didn't hurt. And I thought it did everything I wanted it to do, and I really loved it very much. Next, we have Trespasses by Louise Kennedy. This is about an ill-fated love affair between I think she's 24, a 24-year-old school teacher in Belfast during the Troubles. She falls in love with a Protestant lawyer who does defend Irish people again for the rebellion that they have foisted upon the city. And the story is also about the school teacher's students. It's about her alcoholic mother. It's about her brother who is very annoyed with her. And then it's about this love affair that she knows she shouldn't be having because he is married and he has children. But nonetheless, she carries on with this love affair. And yes, it's a very heartbreaking book. And you can just feel the tension rising as the violence is escalating in the city where they are. And she knows that, he was never going to keep her as, a wife or anything, and that it is doomed to eventually end. And so I loved everything about it. I think it's kind of a divisive novel because a lot of people didn't like it, but I absolutely thought the writing was exquisite, and I got to know that character so well and the other characters that are in her orbit. And I would definitely like to read this again sometime. Next, we have Demon Copperhead. I was so engrossed in the storytelling. And yes, I did know that the Dickens frame of David Copperfield was kind of encasing this story, but it didn't bother me. I didn't think about it too much. It was, you couldn't help but think about it some because I did really love David Copperfield, but I didn't care because I was so attached to Demon, the main character, and all the things that happened to him and his addictions and the way that his support system did not support him enough, and his whole life, just the structure of it falls apart. And yeah, I bought into the story, the plot, the way it was written, and the emotion of me being in the middle of this novel, reading it quickly. Maybe if I'd taken a long time to read it, I wouldn't have been feeling it as strongly, but I really felt it strongly. And I thought it was great. The last book that is on my list is The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. Another family story. You can tell that I'm really drawn to family stories. It's set in Ireland. You can tell that I'm really drawn to Irish writers. And this story takes place around the financial crisis in 2008, where each of the four main characters gets their own section of the book. And so they're all separated. So the first section of this book is told by the daughter, and then the son, and then the mother, and then the father. So as we're getting these stories, they start weaving together the plot and the backstory, which, the kids don't know the backstory. And the mother and father also don't know the backstories of each other. And so all of the secrets from all of the decades come weaving together and creating this tapestry that I thought was so effective. The ending is an enigma. And that really bothered a lot of people. But to me, it was okay. I didn't think too much about the very end. But instead, it was like the whole is the sum of all the parts. I'm so glad that it was at least shortlisted for the Booker. I wish it had won, but I didn't read the winner, so I guess I really don't have a say in that, or I shouldn't have a say in it since I didn't read them all. But if you like family sagas and you like the way kind of a creative storytelling, it's funny, it's really sad, it's very emotional, then maybe you would like to give it a try. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 reads of 2023. If you've read any of these or have anything to say about them that we haven't talked about, please leave me a comment or tell me what your number one book was of this year. And this is the content portion of this video. And now I'm going to talk about my resolutions for reading and for BookTube. For 2024, my first resolution is to stop requesting NetGalley advanced copies, because I feel like that just adds some pressure to me that I don't need. And do I really need to read books before they come out? I don't think I do. If I want to read the book, I will just read it through my library, or I will purchase the book. Number 2, I'm going to try for most of the book club picks that I have. I'm in 2 book clubs. A lot of the books that are chosen for these are books that I would not choose. And so I'm thinking that to ease some of the pressure, the deadlines, etc., I will use audiobooks for my book club picks, unless it's a book that I'm thinking would be better read via print or via text or whatever. I'm going to try to listen to those books while I am doing other things. The third resolution I have is to always have a book that's just for me going in the background, not a buddy read, not a group read, not a theme read, and not a book club read, just something I can enjoy on the side for myself. And this sounds, so obvious, right? I mean, who am I reading for if I'm not reading for myself? But I often feel like I need just some time for a me book that I may not even ever talk about. Like, I don't have to talk about it publicly, but I just need to have something going that's just my book. My next resolution is to stop obsessing over my unread books. I spent so much time creating spreadsheets last year, thinking about all my unread Kindle books, thinking about all my unread books, and looking at the list and trying to figure out how I can read some of them. And I need to just stop obsessing over it. I spent more time on the spreadsheets than I did, when I could have just been reading. And so I need to cool it with worrying so much about the numbers and worrying about what's out there, and just relaxing and enjoying the process more. And even though I did enjoy creating those spreadsheets and color coding the lines of the books I read and making notes, and I can still do that, but I don't need to spend so much time doing that. My next resolution is to DNF, to do not finish books that I am not enjoying. 50 pages in, if I'm not feeling it, it needs to go. I don't need to dwell on books that are not making me happy. Another one is to keep rereading. Remember, December was a theme that we had created by a bunch of really lovely people trying to encourage people to reread books. And I had so much fun doing that. And the spirit of it was it just felt so good to be rereading books that I felt like I wanted to read. So I would like to keep rereading, and I definitely will. And finally, in terms of BookTube, I think it would be better for me if I did more Friday Reads videos for sure, and just keep them short, even if I haven't read much, just to pop in, because I get out of practice. I start making videos, then I wait 4 weeks to make a video, and then I'm like, I freeze, and there's just, I don't know what it is, but I think if I had a little bit more of a routine, and even if the videos are just, a few minutes long, that's cool. And because I do like making the videos, but I also get hung up on how long it's been, and then, oh gosh, I have so many books I have to talk about, or, there's just too many self-imposed anxieties from the whole process. So I need to cool it with that also. So these are all just things I need to remind myself of that are clearly of my own doing and no outside pressure at all, but it's just things I think about and things that stop me from achieving the goals I want to have. So, do you have any resolutions for reading or booktube or whatever else? And if you do, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a very, very happy 2024, and I will see you soon. Bye.